Hey, how's it going, guys? Killer Can't Fit here. Today in this video, I'm going to be going over the 7.2 Enhancement Shaman. I'm first going to go over talent choices, then PvP talent choices, and the best artifact path for you guys to take in order to boost your overall survivability and damage. And I also wanted to say thank you so much for the support you guys have given me thus far. We're quickly approaching 1,400 subs, and that means a lot to me, guys. Now, I decided to actually set up a goal of 2,000 subs, and once we reach 2,000 subs, I'm actually going to make a transformation video showcasing my transformation from being a 145-pound ramen noodle, World of Warcraft playing, anime watching person to chicken eating, World of Warcraft anime watching World of Warcraft player. Yeah, not much has changed, but I think it's still going to be very inspirational for you guys, and I hope it just motivates you guys to go out and become healthy as fuck. Let's get into the video. Alright guys, so getting straight into this, we have the first tier of talents on Boulder Fist, Hot Hand, and Windsong. Now in terms of damage output, it's actually going to be fairly similar, but depending on the comps and classes that you guys verse, the damage drop-off can be pretty significant. Now what I mean by that, let's say we spec into Windsong. Windsong is going to be a really great talent. You'll do a shit ton of damage, but keep in mind it only lasts 20 seconds on yourself. So if you're going up against a class that is highly mobile, such as a hunter or a mage, let's say you put Windsong on, it lasts 20 seconds, and you're only on the target for actually 5 seconds, right? That means you've pretty much just lost 15 seconds of uptime with Windsong on the target. So against highly mobile classes, I wouldn't really recommend taking Windsong. You only want to take it against classes that pretty much just sit there and you can just melt their face in, like a Shadow Priest, for example. Now moving on to the next one, we have Hot Hand. Hot Hand, again, is a great talent, but keep in mind, with Hot Hand, you're doing primarily magic damage. So you wouldn't want to take Hot Hand if you're going up against a rogue with Cloak of Shadows, or an Unholy DK, or DKs in general, really, with anti-magic shield and things like that to mitigate that magic damage. So for the most part, I normally spec into Boulder Fist because this is going to be a flat out damage boost to all my damaging abilities. So Boulder Fist is pretty much always going to be a safe bet. Now moving on to the next tier, we have Feral Lunge. A different way of saying Feral Lunge and Feral Lunge, because Feral Lunge is literally the only thing that exists on this tier. I've said it before. This is also going to be the most aggressive and defensive ability on this tier, because let's say you are being attacked by two warriors and you're looking for a way to, like, a quick escape route, right? You see a priest like 25 yards away, you can target that priest and Feral Lunge to the priest and activate your sprint and get away from those warriors. So it's a great way to get in and get out of PvP situations if you need to be defensive. Moving on to the next tier, we have Lightning Surge Totem, Earth Grab Totem, and Voodoo Totem. Now this, honestly, if I'm by myself, I'm going to typically spec into Lightning Surge Totem because having that 5-second stun is great, especially if you're trying to like kill a healer. But if you're running freeze, and let's say your freeze team consists of multiple classes with stun abilities, you're not really going to want to take a stun because the DRs would be ridiculous. So you could choose to spec into Earth Grab Totem to provide an additional peel for yourself, your healer, or your partner. Or you can also spec into Voodoo Totem if you're running with someone that has like a root ability. So if I'm running with a Druid, for example, the Druid could root the enemy healer in place, and then I can drop a Voodoo Totem, and then that'll be like a full hex, like an instant hex pretty much. So that can be very powerful in those situations. Moving on to the next tier, we have Ancestral Swiftness. Hailstrom is good, but Ancestral Swiftness is way better. I didn't really want to talk about Lightning Shield because it's absolute crap. Don't spec in a Lightning Shield, guys. Definitely go for Ancestral Swiftness. It's going to give you that 6% additional haste, flat haste. It's haste is like the best thing. So definitely take Ancestral Swiftness. Alright guys, going on to the next tier, we have does not exist, Overcharge and Tempest. Now Overcharge is fucking awesome, guys. With Overcharge, I've actually been able to get up to a 2.1 million crit in a battleground. 2.1 million crit. It's freaking ridiculous. So Overcharge is extremely powerful right now. The only time I'm not going to spec into Overcharge, though, is going to be if I'm going up against, again, a class that has a lot of ways to mitigate magic damage. Primarily an Unholy DK. Because with Tempest, again, seeing how I'll be using primarily Storm Strike, which is all physical damage, I'll just be able to go through his anti-magic zone, anti-magic shield, no problem with Tempest. So, but other than that, I'm going to be staying in Overcharge. Then on to the next tier, we have Shundering, another way to say Shundering, and another way to say Shundering. 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 And the reason we're taking Shundering is because in Legion, stuns are extremely annoying. Every class seems to have a stun, and it is just so annoying. But with Shundering, it allows you to be that annoyance. Do you want to be annoying? Yes, you want to be annoying as possible to the enemy. So take Shundering, and it is off of stun DR. So you can use Shundering after you land a successful cap stun totem, and that will literally be a 7-second stun. It does not DR with any other stun at all. So I always like to follow up Shundering after some type of main stun, and it just makes that stun feel that much longer, and it is awesome. And it also does a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage, guys. You see that? That's a lot of damage. I've actually gotten up to I think 500,000 crits with Shundering, so you get what I'm saying, right? Shundering. Now going on to the last tier, we have Ascendance, Landslide, and Earth Spike. Now Ascendance is not what it used to be. Like, it really sucks, guys. The only time I'll ever take Ascendance is if I'm doing like 2 versus 2s and it's double DPS and I don't want to win. Yeah, if I don't want to win, I'll take Ascendance. But if I do want to win and if I'm doing any other type of battleground, if I'm doing battlegrounds, 3 versus 3s, I'm going to be speccing into Landslide or Earth and Spike. The only difference between the two, Landslide is going to give you more consistent damage as opposed to Earth and Spike, where you're going to have like drastic bursts. So especially when you pair Earth and Spike with Overcharge, you do Earth and Spike and Lightning Bolt, follow it up directly after Earth and Spike with a Lightning Bolt, the damage will be freaking amazing. So if you want to see like random spikes, like just like boom, and then like okay damage, then boom, and then okay damage, you want to spec in Earth and Spike. If you want to just have more consistent, steady damage, then you go into Landslide. And Landslide again will also increase the passive heals, the amount you can heal passively. Alright guys, so moving on to the PvP talents, we have Relentless, Adaptation, and Gladiator's Medallion. Gladiator's Medallion is good, but it's going to be on a 2-minute CD, so I actually think Adaptation is definitely going to be better for an Enhancement Shaman, again, just to increase your uptime on the targets. Now, the only time I'm not going to spec into Adaptation is if I'm versing a rogue, because a rogue will pretty much just sap you, get your adaptation to proc, and then you pretty much just feel like absolute crap for a minute. And if you're an orc, I definitely would not recommend you spec into adaptation, because the orc racial does lower the duration of all stuns by 20%, and see now most CC in Legion is currently stuns, and their duration is typically going to be 5 seconds or 4 seconds. That means your adaptation will pretty much never proc. So if you're an orc, definitely spec into Relentless. If you're any other race, stay in adaptation unless you're versing a rogue, and then it's pretty much going to be like, do you think you can get the rogue out before you get sapped? Or yeah, so if you're versing a rogue and you're any other race besides an orc, definitely just spec into Relentless, all right? Moving on to the next tier, we have Sparring, Reinforced Armor, and Hardiness. I pretty much only will switch in and out of Reinforced Armor and Sparring. Reinforced Armor, just view that as defense against magic damage, and Sparring, view that as the best line of defense against true physical melee DPS, meaning classes like a warrior, Fury Warrior, Arms Warrior, Windwalker Monk, what's it called? A Survival Hunter, things like that, that only deal physical damage. If you're going up against a melee class that deals magic damage, definitely don't spec in Sparring, such as like DKs, even Death Knights. They do a lot of chaos damage. Stay away from Sparring and stay in Reinforced Armor. So for most situations, I'm going to stay in Reinforced Armor. And moving on to the next tier, we have Sky Fury Totem, Counter-Strike Totem, and Wind Fury Totem. Wind Fury Totem actually got a nerf. It no longer affects the Shaman that drops it. So if I'm running for Warrior and I drop Wind Fury Totem, I get absolutely no benefit. It so only benefits my Warrior. So in that situation, I like to just I would actually prefer to spec in the Counter Strike totem, because a well-placed Counter Strike totem will be way more effective than a Wind Fury totem. And yeah, Counter Strike totem, especially if I'm getting trained down and I'm like, let's say I'm sitting at like 25% health, I can drop that Counter Strike totem, and that the enemy team will stop attacking me and they will kill the Counter Strike totem. And if they do keep pursuing me, we can probably even turn that into a kill. So Counter Strike totem, I think, wins out in most situations, honestly. Moving on to the next tier, we have Sky Fury totem. Sky Fury totem is great. The only time I run Sky Fury totem though is if I'm running with a caster DPS. So if I'm running freeze with a Boomkin, a Warlock, yeah, pretty much those are the only things I'll ever run with. A Boomkin or a Warlock. This will boost Bear damage, and it will also boost the damage of my Overcharge, my Lightning Bolt, by 30% if I do get a crit. Only when I get a crit though, but in a lot of situations it is insane how hard it can hit, man. So far, the largest crit I've gotten in 7.2 has been 2.1 million in a battleground. So yeah, I'll definitely be posting another one-shot macro video. Like, be on the lookout for it. And moving on to the next tier, we have Purifying Waters, Spectral Recovery, and Ether Form. I will actually stay in Purifying Waters for the most part, especially with Reinforced Armor. It's going to increase my base health, and every time I purge, I'm going to get that 5% heal. So if I'm versing like a Restro Druid, Restro Druid, anytime I know I'm going to be purging a lot, especially against mages and things like that, Purifying Waters is a no-brainer. The only time I will take Ether Form is if I'm versing, again, melee cleaves, so Hunter, not just melee cleaves. Anytime I'm versing a class that deal a lot of physical damage, definitely going to take the Ether Form. It's going to be the best line of defense against that. Moving on to the next tier, we have Ride the Lightning, Static Cling, and Forked Lightning. Now, a lot of times I always wonder, like, what's the difference between Forked Lightning and Ride the Lightning? Like, pretty much the same exact damage, right? Now, Ride the Lightning is great if you're going up against, again, melee cleaves where you know the DPS is pretty much always going to be next to each other. If the kill target and of their teammate is always next to each other, definitely take Ride the Lightning. It's gonna win out. Now, if you're versing like a Warlock and a Mage, where the healer, the Mage, the Warlock, they're all like spread apart for the most part, and you're never going to really get the effect of having a good chain lightning on all three of them. Definitely take Forked Lightning. That way you can at least get one of them, and the Lightning Bolt will actually hit an very opposing teammate. Static Cling, I want it to be good, man. I want Static Cling to be good because it feels cool, you know? And that 15% increased damage is really nice, but the only issue with it is that it's so easy for people to just break away from you, especially in freeze, man. If you get stunned, they can just back up, and it's broken. And then it takes, especially when you're expecting to overcharge, it takes a while for you to be able to get those two storm strikes, and you're losing out on a lot of damage. So I actually don't really spec into it in free versus freeze. Every now and then I will spec into it in like a 2 versus 2 situation where I know the DPS doesn't have much mobility, and I can pretty much just stay on them no problem. Then onto the final tier, we have Shamanism, and Bloodlust, because literally that is the only thing that exists on this tier. Definitely just take Heroism, Bloodlust, whatever. Just take Shamanism. It wins out by far. When 7.2 first dropped, there was actually a bug and you couldn't use Heroism in arenas, and I spec'd into Thunder Charge, and I felt sad every time I used this ability. There was no point in my life when I was happy to use Thunder Charge. Like with Heroism, when I have Heroism up, I freaking hit that button. I'm like, Heroism! I'm excited. I'm happy. My teammates are happy. Everyone is happy. With Thunder Charge, nobody gives a fuck about you. It sucks, man. It sucks. But that is it for the PvP talents. Now moving on to the artifact traits. So starting off, once you do complete the artifact trait quest, then your artifact bar or window should look similar to mine's. And the first talent you're going to want to take is going to be Might of the Earthen Ring. And what this does is it's going to increase your damage and stamina by 10%. That's freaking huge. Definitely do need that. Then after you get this, you're going to want to go over to wind strikes and spec and put 1 point in wind strikes. That's going to make it so your Stormbringer, when you get a proc, increases your attack speed by 40%. That is insane. You are literally, that's a lot of damage. So definitely going to want to take that. And then we're going to go up into spiritual healing. This is going to increase the healing done by healing surge up to 40%. So now you're healing a little bit more, so giving you guys a little bit more survivability there. That's good. Then we're going to go into elemental healing. This makes it so once you activate astral shift, it's going to heal you for 40% of your maximum health over 15 seconds. So it's a lot more survivability. That is good. We definitely do need that. And then we're going to go back down into Gathering Storms, and Gathering Storms is going to make it so each target hit by Crash Lightning, it's going to increase the damage we deal with our next Storm Strike by 8%. So this is actually really, really good, especially against comps that have a lot of pets, or classes that have a lot of pets, such as Demo Hunters, not Demo Hunters, Demonology Warlocks, and Unholy DKs. You just use Crash Lightning when they have all their pets out, and it can increase the damage on your next Storm Strike by like freaking 110%. It's really, really good, guys. We're going to hold off on putting any points in Forged in Lava, and yeah, hold off on putting points in Forged in Lava. Then we're going to go into Wind Surge. Wind Surge will increase the damage dealt by Wind Fury up to 20%, so definitely spec into this. Does more damage with Wind Fury. Then we're going to go into Weapons of the Elements, increasing the damage dealt by Flame Tongue, Boulder Fist, and Frostbrand by 10%. So that's this additional damage of Boulder Fist, and Boulder Fist hits already hits insanely hard. So this is just going to hit even harder. And then we're going to go into Crashing Hammer, Winds of Change, and finally Lashing Flames. And Lashing Flames will make it so your Flame Tongue damage causes the target to take 2% increased damage from your next Lava Lash effect, and this effect stacks, so this can be really, really good. Can't wait to actually get in that. And that is the best path for you guys to follow. And then after you get all these baseline traits, Concordance will be available, and then you're just going to spec into that until you get up to 50. But other than that, that is the end of the video, guys. I hope this guide helps you guys out a lot, and just pwn noobs all day. And be sure to like and thumbs up like and thumbs up is the same thing. Just be sure to like and subscribe. All right, take care, have a good one, guys, and Enhancement Shamans all day.